Welcome back to For the Love of Men podcast. My name's Courtney Shand, and I'm hosting with my dear friend Brianna Mosier. And if you're new to our work, the intention of the show is to bring together men and women to create healthy, polarized relationship dynamics by learning how to honor each other's natural, masculine and feminine energetic core. We are so excited to talk about this topic today. And before we dive in, I want to introduce you to my friend Bree, and we have a couple housekeeping pieces that we wanted to share. But Bree, go ahead and tell these people who you are, what you do, the gifts you bring to the world.
I almost forgot about this part.
I did too.
Because Courtney and I haven't met up for a few weeks, so I was like, oh yeah, I have to introduce myself.
Oh yeah, people may not know me.
Right? My work is in helping ambitious, driven women have healthy, thriving relationships through their feminine energy and grow their businesses if they have one. So I really thrive with working with women who are feeling a little more in their masculine, want to soften, want to learn to trust, surrender, do the deep inner healing work to forgive the collective masculine, all those juicy things, and grow their business to multi-six figures, learn all about online business, all these things. So I'm also pleasure, sex, and intimacy skilled as part of my training as well. So that always comes up with feminine energy work, and I help my clients through that too. And a somatic-based practitioner, which means we honor the body and healing through the body, which is where, as most of you know, the lasting change actually happens through the body. So that's what I do. Courtney, let me hear about your magic one more time.
Yes, I am a relationship mentor, feminine energy mentor, and a registered dietitian. I use a trauma-informed approach to help women get into their body and really feel good about being inside of their body and living that way, which again plays into a lot of body-based healing and activating that masculine energy so that you feel supported from the inside in your life. It allows you to naturally soften, setting healthy boundaries, enforcing those boundaries, and also getting that kind of giddy up and go kind of energy in your life on your own behalf so that you're taking action that supports you feeling your best. So that is my specialty. I love healing kind of generational trickle down patterns in that way. So that's what I do.
Amazing.
Yes.
What are we talking about today?
Ooh, yes. Oh, before that, if you did not make it to the masterclass, you can still get access to that. We have replay available for all 3 of the masterclasses that we've done. And honestly, they all play together quite nicely. So you can go grab all 3. You can still use the code PARTNERS for 50% off on those if you get the bundle. Feel free to check that out. We'll link those below.
So the bundle, they get all 3 trainings for $150?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. Maybe even less than that. I think it ends up taking 25% off of each of them when you get all 3.
Wow.
So it is a steal. Grab all 3 of them and you can go through them with your partner. That would be an amazing way to bring
gift to yourself.
Yes, bring you and your partner closer. Have those conversations.
And they're for men and women, by the way, all genders. They're not, we do speak to masculine, feminine energy in each one, but it's not like that. Men and women are going to benefit from both, from all.
Yep, because we all have both. So
yes, ma'am.
We speak to all of it. So today we are going to talk about continuing the conversation with emotional labor, specifically around money. And I know this is your background, your specialty is the relationship to money. So we're lucky to have Bree here talking about this. But it's a conversation that comes up often, especially in the emotional labor camp. And it's something that we wanted to address. So let's dive in.
Yes.
2 conscientious people. Neither one wants to go first. Go ahead.
I mean, let's jump right in with my favorite point here, which is the difference between traditional gender roles and energy. These are not the same thing. When we talk about masculine and feminine energy, we are not talking about gender roles. In fact, there are a lot of gender roles that actually take people out of really thriving polarity. Can you think of an example of this? I can think of one.
I was going to say, I think you have one.
Oh,
go for it.
Certainly.
Call on Bree. Bree, down front. Go.
That's the pivotal when you ask a question. My grandmother used to do that. What do you think? I don't like it. Anyway, all right. My job is to sidetrack us. Check for the day. So one of the traditional gender roles that I see that doesn't support polarity is household labor. We talked about that a couple episodes back. A woman who's being made responsible for the household, the childcare, all those things, that's not going to be a woman in her feminine. She won't be in her feminine. She'll be burnt out in her masculine.
Yep.
All of the time. You're going to get a lot of this,
Yep.
unless it's been a talked about, agreed upon dynamic, really out there. So gender roles are expectations based on your gender, based on society for how you should behave. Energy is about honoring natural feminine and masculine energies that we all have. Every human, as Courtney and I teach, has masculine and feminine energy internally, which means we both have masculine energy even if we're feminine core beings. And it's about letting that person, creating an environment in your relationship to let their core energy that they really feel themselves in thrive.
Yes.
So when we talk about money, traditionally, the gender role is that men have to provide for the whole household financially, and women do the household labor. Depending on where you grew up, you might have heard something different, but we want to kind of flip the script on that today and give you permission to create a polarized relationship that doesn't have to adhere to any previous notions of what it means in relationship to divide up things around money.
Yeah. So example of that is based on your strengths and skill sets and natural disposition. What are you contributing? And I think that is so important to have that conversation, because if you are naturally more of the feminine partner, there are skills that you're going to bring to the table that your masculine partner is not going to have access to or as much access to, and likewise. And it doesn't necessarily translate equally to the division of who contributes monetarily in that same percentage. So examples, like you said, raising kids, keeping a home versus going to work. You may make money by going to work, and the amount of masculine energy is still equally being asked, I would venture to say. Who's responsible for setting the boundaries of the house, enforcing the boundaries, the child rearing, maintaining the tasks of the home? That still requires a ton of masculine energy. And all we're saying is, however you decide to divide it that works in your partnership, keeping that in mind, that is still a contribution of masculine energy, even if it's not necessarily directly correlated to a paycheck. So she's also bringing money to the equation. Again, we're kind of going with a more traditional family model here of two working people and kids. For whatever reason, we always tend to that as the example.
But it could be any dynamic.
But it could be any dynamic. But keeping that in mind, that it doesn't necessarily correlate with your financial contribution. Your core energy doesn't necessarily contribute with your core energy. And figuring out how to express more of your core energy, regardless of the financial contribution, is what we want to set up so that you can be the most expressed version of yourself, which often I find does correlate with your financial ability to contribute. When you're in your element, you are often more financially available to contribute to the dynamic. Would you say that's true?
Yeah.
I feel like that's...
Certainly. Well, depending on their relationship to money. The starving artist is a classic concept, right? And
Absolutely.
People tend to have this belief that if I'm doing what I love, I can't make a lot of money. It's simply not true. And if you have struggles with that, I have courses. I actually have a course called Money Honey that will help you heal your relationship with money. We're going to debunk that because we do what we love every day. And I'm very abundant. But I had to work through a lot of that, why do I think I have to suffer to make money kind of thing. So sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
Nope. No, that's okay. We were just kind of nodding to this idea that it doesn't necessarily have to be the man that's making the money. In some dynamics, and I think it's worth noting that in some dynamics, especially in this modern era, the female partner is the one that is financially contributing or capable of contributing more. And we're just opening up the conversation to include that dynamic. A lot of times, I think at least for my clients, there is kind of like a subtle fear of out-earning your partner, that's going to throw off polarity. And we just want to neutralize that, in that the energetics of the relationship is based on the masculine and feminine expression of energy, and not necessarily based on the traditional roles of who's bringing in more income.
Well said. Yeah, I think the only way it would throw off polarity is if So I hear you, because a lot of the women I work with, all the women I work with are high achieving. And one of their underlying fears is, I'm going to be too much. I'm going to be intimidating to men. And I find that with the most empowered masculine men, they are not intimidated by women who are successful or high achieving. They celebrate it. Empowered masculine energy, remember, is going to fan your flames. And they might have moments of insecurity because they're also debunking a lot of those old, ancient patriarchal belief systems around what it means to be a man. But they're growing through it. You know, empowered masculine will never ask you to be less of who you are. I can't imagine my partner saying to me, could you please earn less so that I don't feel bad? It would be like, what? And also I don't need to, because he's confident and capable and successful and all those things. But so I love what you're saying about this. So good.
Yeah. Anything else there as far as the energetic piece of it?
I think, so in practice, an example of how this might look, non-traditional gender role, but very highly polarized, juicy relationship, would be, let's say the woman earns more and is successful in her career. Doesn't mean she has to be a workaholic, by the way. That's another leak people often have with money. He holds down, let's say, 60 to 70% of the child care labor, and contributes 60 to 70% to cleaning the house or the meal prep or things like this, and she's contributing more financially. But if they talked about it explicitly, and I think that's probably the key right now based on the climate of where we are in relationships, I never feel more taken care of by my partner than when I come home and the house is clean and things are all set up. He's already decided what we're having for dinner. He went and got the groceries. He executed it. I get to just be done with my day, and he's like, that makes me feel taken care of.
Oh, yes.
That's polarity. I feel like I want to be all over you. I have bandwidth for you because everything's clean, everybody's fed, everybody has bedtime routines and all these things. If I were, if I had kids, yeah, I would feel the most free to be in my feminine energy. And I would hope it would give him too a sense of, I'm taking care of my family. That is just as much provider energy as financial is. And when that's not there, I will tell you, we see it, I'm sure you see it even more than I do, resentment is huge for women who are being made to carry the whole household labor and childcare labor, and he's providing all the money. Unless they've explicitly talked about, this is our unique distribution of skill sets to create a successful, healthy household, she's probably resentful. And trying to figure out how to get her need met and not emasculate him at the same time.
Those often go together.
So it's about him feeling productive and a provider and successful, and her feeling the same way, but also having that space to relax. And then you're gonna flip out of those roles sometimes where she'll be holding him emotionally. He's opening and she's holding the space. That's intimacy too. And you don't have to stay in that flip-flopped polarity space. How quickly you flip back is important, but
and having the skill set around that, which we talk about in one of our masterclasses.
Not caretaking or mothering or, all of our episodes, it's like, which rabbit hole do we want to go down? Because there's so much context.
You can only pick one.
But I'm going to discipline myself here. So yes.
I love that you share that, because we do talk so much about the empowered masculine energy, wanting to protect and provide and be there for the family. And this isn't about having, switching the traditional gender roles where now the man is, having to carry the entire load of taking care of the house and the family. It's about figuring out, having an actual conversation based on what does feel good for you, what lights you up, what brings forth the best of you, what you see as a value add in building the type of dynamic that does to you, say, healthy relationship, brings out the best in you, brings out the best in your partner, creates a functional, harmonious environment. That's what we're after. So it has less to do about who necessarily earns more financially. I think that's kind of like an old conversation that is being had. And now it's in terms of contribution, energetic contribution. There's value that can be had from both energetic poles.
Yes.
And you won't feel fully like yourself, because it feels good as the feminine partner to contribute as well. It just looks different because my unique skills and my value that I'm contributing may look different than what my masculine partner would be contributing. But it doesn't feel less good to contribute to a functional, healthy dynamic, I would say.
Certainly.
Yeah. All right, I think we covered that. Feel good about that?
Yes.
Check. Moving
Point
on.
number 2.
Yes. Ooh, I love this one. I think it's so important, and you brought this up before we started recording, to get the expectations on the table.
Yes.
That cannot be said loudly enough, that if you're not having clean conversations about what you expect, you're setting your partner up to fail. Anything you want? I know this was the point that you brought up. Anything?
Period.
Yeah,
but
I don't. Mic drop. There we go.
It's gonna cause resentment. It just will.
Yes.
It's just not fair.
Yeah.
Really. You gotta play fair, which is if you have this expectation that he's the financial breadwinner, communicate it.
Yes. Yes.
And if you haven't, I would check yourself on, have I really said that? Am I expecting that without having the actual conversation with my partner? Let me be even in, we see it in sex, love, and intimacy kind of work, and we'll talk about this. Our Q3 is scheduled for sex and pleasure, so get ready. But if she's always expecting him to be the initiator, but she never says it, that creates resentment. He can be having this script, and men often don't sorry, I'll get us back on track in a moment. Men often don't have the same permission slip to say, I want her to pursue me, because they feel like it's something to do with their masculinity. It feels insecure. It feels, this thing that we've made men subscribe to about what it means to be a man, and it's not helpful. So he wants that. Maybe she wants to be the pursuer, but there's no permission slip, or he's wanting her to want him, or vice versa. If you don't talk about it, you're gonna hit snags. And the best thing to do is just call it out. Hey, I'm noticing this dynamic between us. Have you noticed this? So same with money.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Different than having wounds that you haven't necessarily checked of, I don't ever want to contribute financially because
Feel incapable.
yeah, we talked about this. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but we all have our own wounding around the relationship that we have with money that is ours to clean up.
Yes.
I have it, he has it, you have it. Everyone's got it. We've all got different stories, and that's going to be contributing to how we're showing up in the relationship with our partner as it pertains to money. And that's still our responsibility to clean up. There's no amount of gender roles that's going to keep you from having to face your own shadow and do the inner work. Because otherwise you're going to be playing smaller in the relationship as a whole. You're not going to be as fully expressed in the relationship dynamic if you're hiding this part of yourself, or you're never wanting to look at these wounds for yourself of feeling incapable, or like your hands are tied, or you just can't do enough. You better believe that that's going to be translating into how you're showing up in your relationship too. So, and I know that's totally your zone of genius. So feel free to check out her program, Money Honey.
Money Honey.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That being said, respecting other people's values around money, I think this is such an important conversation to have with your partner. Like, talk about intimacy. Money's something that we relate to every day. There's an exchange of energy for, goods and services. Everyone does every day. And how you interact with that is going to play into how your partner sees you, and also they're going to feel your tension or your expansion around money. We're in close quarters with people. They're going to see how this is playing out with you. And so having the conversation that respects and honors your natural financial limits, and also your healed spaces where you're at in your journey, having that conversation, I think, would be super empowering as a couple.
I would agree. Yeah, and to go back to the point around, your money wounds, even really high achieving women sometimes get into a relationship. There's a part of them that wants to be saved by their partner. Like, they'll say, I want to be taken care of. I want him to be the provider, which is a totally fair desire if it's clean. But if it's coming from a place of, because I don't trust money, I don't make enough money, I feel tight around money, money makes me feel gross and icky, then that's asking your partner to fill in the space for you to not have to do the work to heal the wound. And like Courtney was saying, it's going to come back up. There are women who make plenty of money in the eyes of anybody else, but their money relationship is still not healthy. You can make tons of money and still never feel safe with money. This is a lot of my clients. It's actually healing the relationship. If it's not enough, it'll never be enough. And that story will play out. So if you want a partner to take care of you from that place of this is too hard, I can't do it, save me, that's a wound that you want to clean up. And being in partnership is not about outrunning your wounds. It's about growth. So your really healthy, thriving relationships are gonna ask you to grow. However, if it's a clean desire, I'm capable, my stuff with money is good, I feel empowered, and I really just want my partner to take care of the financial load mostly. If it's clean, it's clean. You know, it's not a wrong desire at all.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Men or women, by the way. Maybe there are men listening too that think I want to be with a woman who does the bigger part of the financial load. Why? Is it because you don't think you're capable, because you have stuff around scarcity and lack to clean up? Or is it because your heart's desire is truly, I want to be a stay-at-home dad or whatever it might be? That's perfect, but be honest with yourself about, is this coming from an empowered place or a wounded place? I'm trying to escape a part of myself that feels heavy. Yeah.
Genius.
So then you were saying something else, and I backtracked us.
I think about the respecting others' values.
The values,
The values. You had a really great example before we started recording. I'll let you share that.
Yeah, I was just saying, I notice a lot with couples, people have different ideas of what's recreation and what's fun to them. And if you don't clearly talk about it, it's easy to resent each other because you've not been clear on what's fun to you. So if I'm going out and spending money on skincare and facials, and talk about traditional gender roles. I'm giving you the most traditional thing.
Yeah.
And that's fun to me. And his is around sports or betting on sports games or I don't know what else, going out for drinks with his friends if that's the fun way for him, or a really expensive gym membership. It's important to explicitly state that so that the other person doesn't think they're wasting all our money on sports betting. It's like, no, that's his way of unwinding. Or vice versa. If I want to get dance lessons, I'm a big personal development person, so I invest in mentors, courses, therapy all the time. If that's a value to me, I need to communicate that so he doesn't think I'm spending all of our money on something. So something that I've seen to be really helpful is for each person to have their own separate accounts where they can do their fun money, and you talk about what that looks like to you so that he's not resenting her when she comes back with bags from Target or whatever it might be. Yeah. Just be clear about it.
Yeah. Have the courageous conversations. And I find that when you can get clear, if you can get clear enough on like values level language, these conversations tend to go a lot smoother. If you can really clarify for yourself like why the trips to Target or the trips to the spa or the trips to the game or season tickets, like what value that supports for you, it's gonna be a lot easier for your partner to hear and not get activated around. Because then we can get some creative juice flowing. If you value entertainment, there's lots of ways to entertain yourself that don't necessarily look like X, Y, and Z. We can get creative about how I can contribute entertainment, how we can do entertainment together, what that's gonna look like moving forward, what you need to satisfy that need, how big of a need is that? There's lots of different facets to that. And the more clear that you can get on a values level, the easier those conversations, in my opinion, are.
Yeah, this is a value to me because it helps me unwind, get out of my head, whatever it might be. But I think that's a great point. What does this do for me? How does this support? And then how does that support our partnership, you know? Because if I feel held in my personal development work, that brings a better me to our partnership.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ultimately, the more needs and values the more values that are aligned, the more needs that get met, I find, the more of me shows up. And that is of infinite value. That's not a necessarily financial value, but when you can communicate that into how does this play into the investments that I'm making financially and with my time, and we've talked about this way back in the dating episodes, you're gonna see other people's values based on how they spend their time. Same thing, resources, how resources get spent is gonna determine your values. And if you're wanting to grow together, those values either need to align or you need to be able to evaluate them to create harmony between the two of you. If you have a strong value of personal development and your partner has a strong value of entertainment, how can you start playing a game where you evaluate what personal development looks like, and can there be an entertaining component to it so that it's maybe something you can do together? Or is it something that you need to readjust how much of your time, maybe pick more potent courses or more impactful personal development things that you can really show up and maximize that ROI for your partner.
Love it.
Yeah.
So the explicit conversation is what keeps it clean. That way there's no assumption of they're wasting our money on this, or he's always going to the movies, he doesn't want to spend time with me, it's a waste of our money, like I work really hard for this, that sort of thing. And also explicitly looking at maybe who pays for what, and if you're both contributing to a joint account, is that based on a percentage of each of your incomes, or is it an equal amount every month? Having a plan in place and boundaries keeps people from misinterpreting each other and then inadvertently resenting each other unintentionally.
Yeah.
And when you feel the twinge of resentment, especially for my feminine energy being people, when you feel the like, this is a little off, bring it up. Just talk about it. Can we talk about XYZ? The faster you catch it and clean it up, the less it can run wild in your brain and create all these stories about who they are and how much they respect you and how much they value you and are we gonna work? It's like, just talk about it. I'm noticing you spend money on X and I spend money on Y. Can we talk about these things? Is this really what we want to be doing? What do we want to build together financially? And what's our goals together too? I mean, that could be so fun to look at what are our financial goals together, both fun and practical, which aren't mutually exclusive. But.
Yes, exactly. So, challenge. We'll just do a quick challenge here. If you're not part of our monthly challenge, check out our new Instagram page. We will link that in the show notes, but we're going to start moving our monthly challenges to our Instagram page so that more people can access it, because the challenge here is going to be to have the conversation with your partner.
Yes.
Be courageous, value what you value, but also refine it. Get those into words of how your behaviors have been supporting the value system that you have, and bring that information to your partner so that you can both talk about in terms of how your values align, but how your needs are getting met in this partnership, how you need to be allocating your resources to support both of you being the best, healthiest versions of yourself, what lights you up when it comes to earning, what your expectations are when it comes to earning and contribution, what you feel like your contribution is, and really be honoring of the other person. A lot of times the limits that show up, we have some, that's I find where the wounds are, is in our upper limits of how much is enough. That's the conversation that I hear a lot of times coming from both men and women, is not feeling necessarily like enough, especially when it comes to finances. I feel like I'm giving so much and yet the other person doesn't see it that way. Can you honor and appreciate the ways that your partner does contribute, financial or not? And can you have the conversation about what needs and values are being supported by how you're spending your time and money so that you can line those up together?
Well said.
Thank you. Let us know how it goes. Feel free to tag us. Like I said, we're going to tag our new Instagram handle in the show notes. You can also tag either of us at Courtney_Shand and at Building Bree across all the platforms.
Yes, I am.
Feel free.
And if you'd like direct support from either of us, feel free to reach out. We both have things on offer, one-to-one containers, one-off coaching packages. Lots of juicy stuff.
Yeah, if you liked this conversation specifically and want some extra help, Money Honey sounds like a great resource from specific.
Certainly.
I think that's on Self-Study, if I'm guessing.
Yes, you can buy it on Self-Study.
And I also have Supported, which is the conversations that you need to be having specifically in the kitchen. If that is something that you're having a hard time dividing who does what in the house, that is a really great framework for having those type of conversations. So that's also on Self-Study, and we will link those in the show notes.
Love it.
Yeah. All right, we will see you guys next week.
See you later.
Before
we needed 2 hours of friend time naturally.
I did, actually.